We're looking here at a hazel tree. It's an amazing year for hazelnuts in Scotland. I don't know about the rest of the country, though it certainly is in the Lake District. And the time to harvest is about now. And the diagnostic thing is whether it's going to come out of its little cup. And it did. When they've fallen, they're certainly ready. If you come across a cup, oh, they've both come out. If you find one that won't yield up its contents very easily, see about these two. Oh no, that's coming out. And that's coming out. These are ripe and they should have kernels. If it had stayed in its little green frill, if that had really clung onto it, it would suggest that there was no kernel inside the nut and it's not worth picking. At the moment, these nuts have a big fat milky sort of kernel, and some people like them like that. They're okay. They don't have a lot of flavour. If you leave them a bit, if you just leave them in a damp and not drying out atmosphere, they'll mature to the sort of nuts you're familiar with. And if you crack them and then roast them a bit, I mean, that just brings out that superb hazelnut flavour. It's really, really delicious. But it takes a bit of patience, of course, because you've got to crack them all by hand. You're not part of the Cadbury hazelnut chocolate factory. Nutcrackers. And I think there'll be lots to be had. I've got loads in my pocket. Oh, including that one, which is a cob nut. You see the difference between the wild nut and the cultivar? But you remember that this nut was absolutely critical for human survival in the past, because it's one of those sources of protein that you can preserve over winter. You can bury it in a pit and it will still be good to eat. All the prehistoric sites have hazelnut shells attached to them, in post holes mostly, so we know they ate them. This was planted as a wild hazel, but these nuts are big. Oh, they're not ripe either. There's one come out. I suspect that that's got quite a lot of domesticated genes in it, so it could be big and delicious. I mean, I don't mind in practice. It's just when we're collecting seed for our wildwood, we naturally want properly wild ones. And there is a whole hillside near here where they still grow, on very steep hillside. I remember collecting seed there a few years ago, and you walk up a hillside that's covered in hazel roots, and you notice along the hazel roots there's a little trail of hazel nuts that have got little holes nibbled in them, and you begin to imagine a whole mouse kingdom which obviously exists in there, with little animals running around behind these roots. It's really charming, sort of brambly hedge experience.